And we're live, and we're back for Friday Night Finals. What? I've missed you guys. I hope, Brian, Nick, you've really enjoyed your holiday. Unfortunately, I forgot to untie Ian.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get out much.
Yeah, but letting Bri out the basement and putting him in the shed wasn't quite fair, was it?
Yeah. No, because it was
wrong. Hey, Jeremy.
Hello, Jeremy.
In my defence, I just wanted to spend some quality time with you. That was all.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We know.
Yeah.
Now Lois is blue.
I know.
These blue comments are going all after you now, Lois.
I just did it especially so that Nick didn't feel left out of the fact he's Papa's birth and I'm my pet. So tonight,
oh my God, you're blue tonight. Nick just passed it on.
He certainly has. So tonight, guys, we're going to talk about Chernobyl. Now, I'm going to be really honest, right? Me and my man had this conversation, right? We were watching a film called Chernobyl Diaries, right? And what happened was, at the end of it, I can't remember what I said, but I said something. And he says, what I've told you is, don't believe everything in movies is that. Don't even think me. So anyway, lo and behold, didn't take notice. So the rest, I know, Jeremy. I just thought, hi, Cliff. So I just thought to myself, okay. So I don't know what made me. Hey, everyone that's joined. I don't know what made me look up documentaries, but I wanted to watch a documentary. But I wanted to see a documentary I'd never seen before. And lo and behold, there was a documentary, excuse me, about Chernobyl. Now, me, totally naive, said to Stephen, you told me Chernobyl wasn't real. And he went, oh my God. He says, I told you not to believe what was in the films. He says, of course Chernobyl's real. And I was like, oh. I was like, oh dear. But Chernobyl is one of the... Oh. Chernobyl... But though I can't hear you, you broke up.
Would you like some facts?
Oh, I love facts. Hit me with it.
Okay, are you ready, Nick? I'm doing a Nick now. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
The disaster happened on the 26th of April. It was the number 4 reactor that blew. They put it down to a design fault and human error. Who knows the actual facts, but this is the official explanation. Initially, there was fewer than 100 casualties, or so they say. The actual number is closer to 60,000 to date, because this happened in 1986. In Pripyat, a region in Kiev. It was actually in Ukraine. It is in Ukraine now. It was in Republic of Russia then in 1986. It's close to Belarus now, about 20 kilometers away. It's 60,000, it says, estimated deaths. But who knows? Again, it's a big area, it's a big region, and truth and facts are you can't tell because it's sketchy. But that's the actual facts of the actual blast. The bit that I'm interested in is what happened after the blast, and since then, and mutantism. Yeah, mutantism, due to radiation, has proven to be much less than they expected. And opposite to expected, rather than things growing to 3 times the size that they did with 3 heads and everything, they're actually smaller. Species have got smaller, but they only sort of deformities are extra limbs in some cases, seals with 2 heads, but mainly fish, mainly these species of catfish. The bodies have got smaller. So they look out of proportion because the heads are pretty much similar to what they would be. But again, with extra eyes, extra tentacles, things like that. So that's about as far as I got. But with short notice, because I was only told yesterday that we were doing Chernobyl, you see. So it's a bit hard to get, information when you're in dungeon.
Well, can I just say, you've done me proud. You've done me absolute proud, honestly, Bri. And do you know what? It's good to see. I do so want to go to Chernobyl. It's one of the ones that are on my dream list today is Chernobyl. My partner, he got a VR, and he knew how much I want to go to Chernobyl. And it's not just the same. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really, really good, and I did feel like I was there, but that wasn't, it wouldn't be as good as the real deal. I'm not sure.
Well, you are allowed now. You can get very, very close to the village that stood beside the reactor. You're allowed to go to the edge of the estate. You know, the big buildings and what have you. But you're only allowed about an hour. You're strapped to this guide counter, and as soon as it starts to click, that's it. You've got to go.
I mean, honestly, when obviously I read seen the documentary, it was really, really sad. I mean, you think these people were rushed out and they left nearly they left all their belongings there. People are still belonging, like when they look at the big building, they're still finding kids' toys and things like that. It's really, really sad. And I think was that not like
because it was all contaminated.
Have a look for it, Lewis. There's a film, and it's done on drone, and it flies around them apartments and shows you loads of stuff that's still there.
Oh wow! I'll need to look for that. Right, sorry, what were you saying, Nick, honey?
No, because I was saying when you mentioned about the, how everybody had to leave their belongings, even children's toys behind, because they all thought it was contaminated with this nuclear radiation.
Yeah. Oh, there's actually odd one or two still remaining that they stayed behind.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what? As being a big animal lover, I feel really sorry for the amount of animals that were affected by that nuclear. That seriously, I'm a big animal fan, and I was gutted when I heard how many animals were actually affected by the radiation. And when we talk about these subjects, I even think about the men that put their life and limb to stop the radiation actually getting out.
Yeah.
Well, and not to mention, I mean, not only just the animals that had suffered through it, but also imagine livestock, something that plays a big role for our food source and stuff like that. You got these animals out there that are now mutated or now contaminated with this nuclear radiation to the point that you can't even kill them even for food. So it's also it has a huge effect on our part too, where how would we be able to get certain food rations to survive? I mean, yes, obviously it only affected Chernobyl, but still a place like that you lived in all your life, it's hard to sometimes move on from a different location.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. I think there was something, the official death toll to Chernobyl is just actually, and this quite surprises me with the figures, because I was expecting a lot more. But they're saying it was just 31 people, with the UN saying it could be 50. However, hundreds of thousands of lictors were sent in to put out the fire at the nuclear plant and clean up the Chernobyl site afterwards. I mean, it's a beautiful, when you look at the place, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It really, really is. And what always stands out with me about Chernobyl is the fair. How the fair ride. It always stands out to me because I can just imagine how it was. Hey, Lauren, Lois, you've turned into Poppy for Trolls. I have never seen Trolls in it, so I don't even know who that is.
Oh, check this out, what Eric just said. I lived by a nuclear plant when I lived in South Carolina. I didn't know you came from the Carolinas. One day there was a radioactive cloud. We had to close windows and stay inside. Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
Especially when you're living close to a nuclear power plants.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I meant, the Ferris wheel. Thanks very much, Sarah. I hope you're well, my darling. I've been thinking about you quite a lot. Do you know when I think nuclear?
Anything that's not natural is prone to things like this. We, quite locally, had chimneys from not nuclear, rather, but they are actually. Anyway, we've got loads of power plants, and no, they're not nuclear, they're coal-fired. So these chimneys, because the steam that's rising in these chimneys, we had a scare where meningitis virus was alive and kicking in these steam clouds. So obviously, if it blew up a village, you were prone to catching it. So these things do happen.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Go on, Lou, sorry.
I know my fucking light was flashing itself there. I'm trying to stop it to get to flash.
Back to being blue again.
That's it. Stick to the blue. When Ian, you haven't said a word tonight. Come on, English. Get your ass in gear.
Aye. Yeah, what you're saying, Paris, the trip's over there, but the guy I work with, his son actually went there last year. And
lucky devil.
He's got the Ferris wheel tattooed on his leg as a reminder. So.
Oh, wow, really? Oh, you need to send me a picture.
I will ask him, yep.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. As I said, I don't know why that always stands out to me in the whole of Chernobyl. That's the one thing that actually stands out to me is the Ferris wheel. I don't know why, it's strange. I think it's just because when you look at the aerial pictures, it's the first thing apart from Chernobyl, like the nuclear bit that you can actually notice.
I think one of the biggest things you can see from the fence line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not actually a new idea. I don't know if you've ever watched, any of you guys have ever watched a series called Abandoned Engineering. And these ideas crop up around new technology. So obviously back in there, this nuclear plant for bee's knees, it was the best and biggest in the world. And they built villages, literally built villages to support all the workforce, just like you would in a military base. And there's loads of things like this crop up all over. There's one actually in Turkey, of all places in Turkey. It's totally abandoned, but the infrastructure's still there. These concrete bunker-style buildings, built literally just for the workers of these factories and technologies that grow up. But and Chernobyl was one of them. It had its own village, its own shops and malls, and also its amusement park.
Hey, Lynn. The thing about Chernobyl was it was an entire town, a population of, I think it was something like 49,000, more than that, of people. It was only 3 kilometres from the plant. And during the evacuation, the 36 hours after the accident, they had made an additional 67,000 people were evacuated from their homes in contaminated areas, and we located on government order. In total, some 200,000 people are believed to have been located as a result of the disaster. See, the thing about nuclear disasters, there's two that stands in my head. The biggest two in my eyes is the one in Chernobyl, and the second one being the Japan one. Now,
Oh yeah.
two very big disasters. But what really annoyed me about the Japan one was that Japan had been told years beforehand, don't build that plant because you're on top of earthquake ground.
Fukushima.
And they ignored the advice, and it could have been prevented because the earthquake came and then the tsunami came, and it was due. And I think, apart from the 2000, the top one was the 2004 one.
That was in Indonesia.
In Indonesia is the highest scale one, and the one in Japan, I think they're either neck or one, either or the other, but that's the top two. That's a bad tsunami damage.
Well, Sarah also brought up another one. The wind scale fire of October 10th, 1957 was the worst nuclear accident in the United Kingdom's history. Now, surprisingly, I haven't heard of that event before.
It's because it's Dungeness as well, isn't there? We tend to locate them in remote places, so that if there is anything that happens, it's already secluded. I mean, Dungeness, that's on the beach, basically.
Yeah, right. That's pretty close to me, Dungeness.
There you go.
Well, I got to say also a comment with what you were saying, Lois, about, like, for example, the one that occurred in Fukushima in Japan back in 2011. I still remember, and it was literally because I was still in high school at that time, that as I was getting ready to go to school, I'm watching the television, TV, what was happening. They said about the nuclear power plant that was severely affected by the earthquake and tsunami. They said that they were probably going to be in potential for a nuclear meltdown. Of course, that scared the hell out of all of us, when we even heard about it on television. So it wasn't really until a couple of days later that we found out what the results were. It
really was. I'm fascinated, apart from paranormal and serial killers and things like that. I'm fascinated with natural disasters. Thanks, mate. I know, he made me feel bloody old too, arsehole. So, English. I'm only 21. You're 22. You still remember that?
I'm 22. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
See? You better love me now that I said 22. I could have said 23. But the major health effects due to obviously this, I think there was 1,800 cases that were a cancer, children who were between basically babies to 14 years of age when the accident occurred, which is far higher than normal.
Turn that down for me.
2 seconds, guys, and I'll be back, sorry.
It's nuclear. It's not a nice thing, is it? We're still having they're still having problems in Japan from dropping bomb.
Oh yeah.
In Second World War, there's still mutilations and people being born with God knows what else. Already born with cancer. Yeah, and born with cancer. It's there we go.
Their cameras today.
Lewis will be upset if you missed that.
Yeah. It's a phone, innit? I ain't got no internet or anything. It's my phone, so that's that. Anyway, I'll hold it. Ooh, that connection's a bit warm.
Sorry, guys, that was just family stuff came up there. So yeah, you think about it. Oh, cheers. I'm on the Pepsi Max tonight. But if you think about it, the amount of people are still even having health effects. And if you think really about all the people, all the workers, the firefighters, all the people who put their life, if you, include them, they were all dying off no long after the whole Chernobyl disaster. I think it was within this might be a bit of an exaggeration, but was it no like the first 3 months that the people were feeling the effects of the radiation? I think there was like over 100 radioactive elements released into the atmosphere when Chernobyl's fourth thing exploded. Most of them were short-lived and decayed very quickly. Don't ask me all the things that they were mixed with, because I've tried to pronounce them. You'll have great fun. But this element, one of the elements actually affects the entire body, and especially can harm the liver and the spleen. So you just think, oh my God, what were they using that was that bad? You know what I mean? To cause that damage.
Yeah.
Plutonium, isn't it?
Well, you see, the one thing that I think that's scary, that separates like in this case with nuclear disasters, is like what you just said, Lois, about how some people may have not been affected by the radiation immediately, maybe not even for a few months or even a year. That's kind of one of the most difficult things when issues to deal with, is you don't know exactly when you're going to be like feeling the effects of the radiation, and even worse, when is it ever going to go away? Because the fact that people are still testing people who go into Chernobyl, or the city of Pripyat, they still got to get tested to make sure when they leave the area that they're not contaminated anymore. I mean, that just goes to show that this nuclear radiation could stick around for decades before it eventually dissipates.
Was it no like Sweden? And what I'm reading is that Sweden and Finland and other parts of the northern hemisphere, to some extent, were affected because the wind was blown towards that region.
Yeah, like what Robert said, they get
the
blow
UK
out from
were as
Russia,
well.
depending which way the wind is blowing. Yeah, because it's going like from Russia to Ukraine, and then eventually to Finland, Sweden, and Norway, and then eventually over the English Channel to the UK.
That can explain why English gets his good looks with all that radiation.
Well, that's probably the reasoning behind your colour hair. But there you go.
See, just because he said about my red hair, I'm going to turn into a demon. Fuck you, Mr. Varro.
We can barely see anything.
Yeah, they don't scare me.
Bring your big cross to me then. See, that's why I love the red, because it just, honestly, my face disappears. It's like this big luminous.
Well, I gotta ask, do you have a green one for St. Patrick's Day next week?
Right, well, no. That's the closest to green I'm getting.
Is that green? Yeah,
Lois was seeing red, as Sarah just said.
Hi. That's what Mr. Barrow's going to get every time he gives me cheek, is this sort of treatment.
Yeah, don't worry.
The wind blew toward the UK from Russia.
Come on in, Lois. Give it to me.
Oh. Is that not what the bishop said to the nun?
I don't know. Were you there?
I mean, when they talk about, obviously, we were talking about animals. Mutilations did occur in plants and animals after the plant explosion. Leaves changed shape, and some animals were born with physical deformities. Despite the increased radiation levels, rare species are now returning in large numbers to the area. Those animals include beavers, moose, wolves, and wild boar, plus species of bird. That's quite weird, isn't it? if you think about it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just nature taking back over, isn't it? Really?
Yeah,
Mm.
nature's nature.
Yeah, you'll have Russian Bigfoots next, and Nick will be over there.
But like I said, what they thought were going to be, what they thought were going to end up being gigantism, it wasn't. Things have actually got smaller. Even trees, they're growing, but they're smaller. Everything's stunted.
See, recent train crash in America. That's the one that occurred in Ohio. Not nuclear, but unbelievable. Anything that is carried through populated cities into ice. It wasn't nuclear, but the chemicals that train carried that would have been deadly, because I don't know exactly what the chemicals were, but they did say though that it, being released into the atmosphere, it would cause a huge, basically, environmental catastrophe. So that's why they had to evacuate a lot of the nearby towns until they gave the all clear that it was gone. But that was almost as close as we got to having kind of like a nuclear accident. I mean, it wasn't nuclear, but it was still chemicals.
Yeah.
I never even heard that one, Nick. When did that happen?
This happened about, I think, I'm sure someone in the chat would know, about a month ago or month or so ago. It was in Ohio, and the train got derailed. I don't think I might be incorrect on the details. I don't think anybody was killed, fortunately, but again, it was quite a scare because this was toxic chemicals that it was carrying. So being released into the atmosphere, that's stuff you don't want. That is stuff you definitely don't want to breathe in. Yeah, that's about 3 or 4 weeks ago this occurred. It was all over the news.
I probably did see it.
The latest one is in our dungeon, me and Ian. We've got a problem with formaldehyde, and it's that Lewis. It's their fault.
I need to redecorate that.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
How is your beds? Are they all very comfortable, or do you want them upgraded with sounds like a queen size bed?
Yes.
It's to haul chemicals, and when you know what the symbols are on the trucks, it's scary when you know. Yeah, I believe it. I mean, they usually always put. I don't know if they still do it today, but I remember sometimes they would put like the skull and crossbones to let people know that it's poisonous. Just one look at that ought to scare anybody, knowing what chemicals they are.
There's quite a few areas actually with barrels that's being dumped. One area is between, I'm not sure what they call it to a place, but Alcatraz, that stretch of water between Alcatraz and mainland, it's got very, very strong currents. And at one point, I believe back in the 70s, they dumped a lot of barrels in there, hoping that currents would take these barrels out. But obviously, some of them got lodged. So there's things in there as well.
Well, see, I've known a lot about Alcatraz, but that I didn't know anything about that. So that's new for me to hear.
Yeah.
They say one recently visited the Chernobyl area, including even the exclusion zone, which is a 30-kilometre radius. But some residents say that zone have returned to their homes at their own free will, and they live in the area, so there's people actually still living there. However, these levels are not fatal.
I told you that.
Guys, I'll be right back.
I knew that. I was just testing the knowledge. Nicky boy, where do you hang? Oh, he's away. Are you going for your dinner again?
No, I got to grab something really quickly. I'll be back in just a minute.
He'll be away for that gorilla glue. He loves that gorilla
glue. I'll be right back.
He's heard the factory on fire. He's going to save some.
That's it. He just wants me to touch something so that I can't move. But yeah, Chernobyl, definitely. You wonder how much paranormal would actually be there.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very eerie place. I mean, did you see when Top Gear went in there?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, even just them standing there with the cameras looking around, it was such an eerie feeling. Just, you know,
It was
just,
Hammond, it was Hammond actually that mentioned that eerie feeling. He says, "I don't want to stop. I want to go.
Oh.
Can we go now?" Kept saying, "Can we go now? Can we go?"
yeah.
Hammond said himself. Mr. Coleman, you need to come on one night. Come on to Frightners. I'll absolutely love Wes. Wes is a really good guy. He's really, really good to talk to. We need to get a date sorted, Mister. Is that Jeremy before the eye patch? It's a younger version of Nick. He's got to kick me right in the shins. Nick, I sent you a few photos of orbs I've got from my ring in my basement. Lord, when he comes back, I'll tell him to drop you an email. But yeah, definitely. Chernobyl, I just can imagine trapped with spirits.
Yeah. Well, a big traumatic thing like that, there's bound to be something, isn't there? You can't get away from that.
Here's a question for you guys and for the people in the chat. We always say there's places that you should go and explore, and then there's places that should be well left alone, right? And some people will say the one in Poland that I can't pronounce should be well left alone. What's your opinions on Chernobyl? Should Chernobyl be treated the same, or?
Actually, I don't think so. I think it needs to be reclaimed and everything possibly done to reclaim it. Because it's not a place of note. It was built in a region that had nothing. It was bringing prosperity to the region. So I think that's a good idea to bring that prosperity back. But the place in Poland, like you say, yeah, desolate place. There was the other one, Transylvania. Not sure what they call it, but the forest there. Is it Black Forest? I'm not sure. Where nothing grows. It's lush forest for hundreds of miles, and then there's just this dead spot that nothing grows. And there's supposed to be an atmosphere about it. Nobody will go. Nobody will, not on their own anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, what?
Nick, we need to get this gentleman on one night. This young gentleman, I would love him. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome! I've met him before. I've met him on the channel. We've been on a show before. He is awesome.
Lauren, could you give Lauren an email after the show?
Well, check right now, Lauren. Give me 1 second here.
Is that Jeremy with Nick's name or Nick with Jeremy's picture?
Hey, Chantel.
Hey, Chantel. I won't tell you, Chantel. Sarah Louise says, if the world are going to switch to energy from nuclear, then Chernobyl should be seen and remembered to act as a warning when things go wrong. I totally agree with that comment, Sarah. And I think that the other one in Japan should be made as a warning when things go wrong, because, as I said, it's been built on earthquake territory, and talking about earthquake.
That speaks for itself.
And Eric,
definitely.
yes, that was Jeremy before the eye patch. Because that was when I changed my picture. It's Jeremy's. It's because we're under Jeremy's account. That's why his picture keeps showing up.
Listen, I nearly died the other night when I was doing the show with the crime show before the guys came on, and I'm like, why is Jeremy on the show? And then I realised it was his picture. Hey, Chantel. But do you know what? Eric says, I agree with Brian. Oh, Nick's hut. Me and Nick's hutted at the same time. Right, I'll leave it alone. I don't think it's supposed to be left alone. You should investigate with respect, but everybody needs their story told exactly. Eric, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's a fascinating place. Definitely a fascinating place, Chernobyl. Hey, Joanne. There's the thing I'm reading from, right? There's questions. And one of the questions somebody asked was, what was done to ensure the safety of other RBMK reactors so that this scenario will not present itself again? And how they answered it was, lessons learned from the accident were a significant driving force behind a decade of IAEA assistance to the countries of Central and Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union. Much of this work focused on identifying the weaknesses and improving the design safety of BVR and the RBMK reactors. Upgrading was performed in all RBMK units to eliminate the design, which contributed to the Chernobyl accident, to improve shutdown mechanisms and heighten general safety awareness among staff. Just as important as the design safety work has been focused on operational safety and on systems of regular oversight. So what do you think? Do you think the staff weren't as trained as what they should have been?
I think there's always a chance that things can happen again, always, because it's called greed. It's human greed. So yeah, the chances of something happening again. I mean, it's happened again. Things reoccur all the time.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Sorry, I had to bring that up. That's not as funny.
See, Bonnie.
You're not that Bonnie.
Fuck you. Fuck you, English.
Now, I think one of the biggest lessons that needs to be learnt from Chernobyl is not to lie and to tell everybody what's happened from the beginning. Because if they'd have done that, a lot of people would have been saved. And a lot of other countries would have got involved and sorted it out a lot quicker than it actually did.
Not to mention, they probably would have been able to contain it a lot quicker before the radiation spread throughout that area of Ukraine. You know, it would have been. I mean, they probably wouldn't have been able to stop it completely, but they would have at least contained it to a much smaller degree.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there were people there for quite a long time after they knew radiation.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
You know, they should have evacuated Chernobyl the second they realised.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. I mean, it says on December the 15th, 2000, the last reactor operational at the Chernobyl site was shut down and the phase of decommissioning began. This involves the removal and disposal of fuel and waste, the determination of the planet and the area surrounding it. But you just think it's so sad. It actually does say that children are not allowed to live in this area, so it's just adults. They can't risk if there's still if the radiation's not too high but it's not too low, then definitely I totally agree. Don't put children at risk.
Well,
Yeah, it's to do with
that. Well, here's my question: if adults are allowed to stay, but not the kids, where are the kids staying then? Because I'm sure most of these adults would have to be parents. I mean, they have to have their kids living somewhere.
They'll probably be staying with relatives, like outside. But you just think about it's really, really sad, and I totally commend the ones for their bravery having. I think there was two gentlemen that were heroes or maybe it was three. I can't remember. It was 2 or 3 gentlemen that were heroes, that basically helped save most of Chernobyl. And I think the guys ended up dying, obviously, due to cancer and due to obviously breathing difficulties. Look at the nuclear disaster that happened in Japan.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The Russians tried to cover it up until radiation alarms started to go off in their other countries.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Robert says Russia does not care.
He's right on that. He's definitely right.
I think is it no Russia's trying to take back Chernobyl? Is it no under Chernobyl's under Ukraine, but they're trying to fight to get Chernobyl back under Russia? Or am I confusing stuff?
Well,
I think that's actually another plant.
Yeah.
I know Russia, they probably want it back. Goodness knows why.
I just wanted to shout out for Lauren. Lauren, she was asking us this earlier. I know it's unrelated to what we're talking about, but I was going to hold this question until near the end of the show. So we'll come back to that.
What is everyone's favourite place to investigate? My favourite place, Lauren, is a mental hospital called Lennox Castle. But I would really, if I had a dream one to do, apart from Waverley Sanatorium, it would be a church. I really would love to investigate a church and actually get to the bottom of their secrets. Because I think churches hide a lot of information, and I think there's a lot that will come out gradually. What about yourselves, guys?
Watch this space, because I'm just started one with Cliff, and we're outside. An investigation to do with churches. But yeah, my favourite place always has been, always will be, a place called Thornseat Lodge. There is so much activity, and it's not all human and normal spirit. I'm not into demons and devils and things like that, but I'm telling you now, there's something a bit demonic going off here. Definitely.
That'd be Lois popping in.
Yeah, could be.
Fuck you, Battle. Fuck you. What about you guys?
Oh, I suppose the True Crime Museum in Hastings is the one I seem to keep going back to. As every time I go there, you think you won't get something better, but we always get something as good or better every time. So I keep getting brought back to it, and it's only down the road, so that's quite handy.
And for me, it's kind of a hard answer because I have a couple of them. I don't just have one location that I enjoy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give a top 5. One of them, undoubtedly, of course, is Waverly Hill Sanatorium. Of course, ironically enough, Lauren, one of them is also a cemetery that we have here. We have Bachelor's Grove Cemetery here in Chicago. That's another one. I love the town of Alton, Illinois, because it's like one of the most haunted small towns in America. I love Crown Point Jail in Indiana, nearby Indiana. And the 5th one, gosh, geez, that the last one always changes. But what I'm going to say for now is the Masonic Temple in Salina, Kansas. Those are some of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what, guys? Without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, the places that you've all mentioned really does sound pretty cool. But yeah, America, definitely. I'm coming over, Nick. That's it. I've packed my bags, heading to North Carolina.
I was going to say, I bet you were going to bring up North Carolina.
Yeah, and when you've got to shut the airport.
It's all right. English is coming with me.
Oh yeah,
in fact,
Stanley Hotel. Yep.
You can't get a basement on a plane.
Well, I can't leave you behind, can I?
And you know what? To respond to Robert's comment, I've also been to the real Stanley Hotel.
Oh yeah.
Well, we didn't actually unfortunately, we didn't get to stay the night because unfortunately, hotel like that it is expensive as hell. I mean, there was no way, even for one night, there was no way we could just rent a room, just to hang out and investigate. Of course, even if I wanted to, not to have my younger side, I was about 13 years old when we went over there, and even though we couldn't stay the night, we were allowed to, walk around, check out certain areas of the hotel, but we couldn't actually do an investigation at that time. So it's a really cool place, but again, it's it was expensive as hell back then. I heard it's way more expensive today. So it's hard to get into.
What
If I
about
could remember, I'd have to do Bobby Mackey. I'd have to do Bobby Mackey.
Oh my
I did
God.
Bobby Mackey's too. I've been there as well.
Yeah.
In fact, guys, you've actually reminded me of something. I actually need to run by Viv first, and if it's all right with Viv, then if yous are free, then yous can come on if yous want, because it's hard to get these guys, and they're only free on a weekend. But I'm sure if I push times in that with them, they should be all right. Right, Nick, I picked on you last night, so it's up. Ian, because you're off a quiet tonight, I'm going to pick on you, right?
Have I been
Right.
quick?
Yes, definitely.
Just
Lauren.
because
That'd be awesome.
that's just, I would love to, Lauren. Just because, right, I'm picking on you, English, right? Pick the subject for next week. Pick the subject for next week's show.
Pick a subject for next week's show. Ooh.
I'm going to fucking regret this one.
You could end up you could end up what can I come up with that's original?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I think it's Mackinac.
Okay,
Island.
what about no? Oh, changed my mind then. I had an idea, but I thought no.
If it's down to your hero, I am not spending an hour and a half with you on here talking about Zach fucking Baggins.
So weird, he's lovely.
Oh,
Yeah. I'd rather spend a night with Annabelle the doll than a night up with an investigation with him.
but you weren't saying that when you were sitting at his Christmas table for your dinner. Why, that's right, you're banned. You're not even invited.
Have we done haunted objects? I can't remember.
No, we've not done haunted objects, no. I think we've only said,
Haunted objects.
all right then. That is all in agreement.
Blah.
That's right, Lauren. Yeah.
Next up.
Lauren, I remember she said this last night that she's got battlefields there, including Gettysburg, because she lives in Ashburn, Virginia. She's got all the battlefields around her.
Begins sounds like a Hobbit name.
The Titanic.
Oh, that'll do. I'll tell you what, Robert. Next week we'll do haunted objects, and the week after we'll do Titanic. In fact, I need to write that fucking down because I keep forgetting.
Yeah,
Titanic was what I was thinking and changed my mind.
Well, also,
I know a few conspiracies about Titanic.
well, I'll tell you what. Do you want to do Titanic next week, and then we'll do haunted objects the week after?
Yeah, if you want.
Right, Nick, I see your hand.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I actually have something else I'd like to, since we're still, I know we went off topic, but I found something else interesting that actually goes back to something involving Chernobyl. I think you guys might want to hear about. So
yeah.
It's actually in the paranormal or even cryptid case, believe it or not.
Oh.
It's not. I'm just going to read it off because it's not that long. But believe it or not, right before the Chernobyl explosion, what I'm going to read right here is that there was something that became known as the Black Bird of Chernobyl. There weren't that many sightings of this monstrous avian, though the sightings before and after are similar. All the sightings before the disaster are practically the same. Workers seeing the huge creature in the area of the power plant. The workers say that they had not only just sightings, but also these dreams of a beast with a 20-foot wingspan and red glowing eyes. The sightings afterward are similar to each other. Rescuers and helicopters seeing a large bird-like creature fly by. And here's what's even more shocking. Everyone who has seen the creature during that time has died.
Oh my God. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you know, funny enough, you said that, Nick. I actually, I'm not in the group any longer, but when I used to write articles for one of the groups that I used to write articles for, that when you said that there and you began to say the story, I can remember doing an article on that because I found that really, really weird because I was like, holy shit, I was like a blackbird. Though they say blackbirds, is it blackbirds, crows and ravens are good with memory?
Yeah. The actual sightings were more bat-like than actual bird, even though the description comes across as bird because it's foreign language. The sightings, if you look at it, are more bat-like, huge bat.
I'm actually going to share the screen just very quickly, just so you guys can see. But this is a sketch of what the blackbird of Chernobyl looked like. Obviously, it does look like a normal bird, but still, it definitely does have the similarities to it. How it's black in color. They say it has at least a 20-foot wingspan. Of course, undoubtedly, there's no doubt in my mind of what this could also be. And Eric actually just recently wrote it in the comments, but it is also believe that it could be based on another culprit, the Mothman.
Yeah.
Wait, Nick, could you just go back? Could you just go back one picture? If you go back to the pictures, I'm sure I recognise their feet. English, let me see your feet, because I'm sure they are your feet.
But no, it is true though. They usually do describe the blackbird of Chernobyl also as a Mothman-like creature because of just like it was like with the Silver Bridge collapse and some of the other disasters, the Mothman was often seen right before, disaster and tragedies. Same thing with the blackbird of Chernobyl. It could be a Mothman.
Ravens everywhere. Even places like Knaresborough Castle. They've got captive ravens there. Tower of London, they've got captive ravens there because they reckon if they leave, there'll be a disaster. So that goes back a long way. That one, blackbirds.
And I was beginning to think, that this, when you see the leg, a Mothman, you're right, Nick.
Yeah. Okay. So. Okay, very, very quickly. Remember I messaged you earlier saying I was having a hearing issue? Remember I said that?
Yeah, because I have $20.
So no, what happened was, and I don't want to get too graphic, but I've been having buildup in my ear lately. So I took some medicine. I took some medicine right before I came onto the show, and because it was stuck, I was going to tell you guys right before we went on, I could only hear through one ear because it was hard for me. Now now I just heard the pop, and now I can hear again through both ears. So that's why I was like, yes.
That do you know what the secret of that was, Nick? That was because I asked you for $20 and you didn't even click. You didn't even blink. You didn't even say hi or nay.
Jeepers Creepers type thing. Oh, he was referring to the blackbird. It's like the creeper from Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah.
I like that film. I've yet to see that.
His red eyes.
Yeah.
So nuclear Mothman. That's what it is.
Is the red eyes like this?
Oh no, not like that. That's super scary.
I didn't see the Titanic exhibition when it was in Manchester. Very cool. I'm not surprised.
Oh.
Here we go again.
That's all right. That happened last night.
I was not. Yeah, that's why I was in the back. That was why I was in my head earlier because I was trying to clear the ear out.
That was that.
What you missed, Lois, was while you were away, that happened to Bry, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Me and Nick have got to have our cameras fall over next.
Yeah. First we lost you, then we briefly lost Bry. It's like, geez, which one of us is next?
But yeah, it's been a really good night. I love my Frightners. I really do.
Pop goes the year.
Okay, Nick, if you say so.
Brian,
Not hitting the
Bry's on the Guinness, Robert. Did you not?
No,
Why the phone fell over because his phone's on it as well.
no, it's a toffee ale. It's gorgeous. Oh, it's toffee ale. Gorgeous.
Oh no! Oh God! No! Ugh.
Smells lovely. It smells of toffee. Lovely.
I love
Reminds
toffee,
me
but no.
of
It reminds you of what?
bonfire
No.
night.
There was a
Actually, I thought you said bum fluff. That's why I was like, what the? Ian's crying. Are you alright, Ian? Do you want me to pass you a tissue? Don't you cry?
And Nick says he's the one with the hearing problem. Yeah.
No, mine is called selective.
Never thought of that, Annette.
When Ian says, "Can I get out the dungeon?" I can't hear him, but when he says, "Can I have a nice warm blanket?" I say, "Yes, here you go, Mr. Ian." But yeah, it's definitely been a... I look after you well.
Sorry, I was going back to some of the stuff that I might have missed. Robert was in a town center, went into a shop, was a museum, and had the lifeboat number in that the watch that was given to the sailor on the lifeboat.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Have you ever watched the? I'll need to rewatch it since we're doing the Titanic next week. But you guys ever watched the? It was on. Obviously, Nick Gill will get it in this channel because I know America doesn't have this channel, but it was on Channel 4. It was like a reconstruction of the investigation into the Titanic. Like it was like obviously some of the staff that survived and that were. It was like a whole inquiry into it. It was quite an interesting one. I'll need to actually try and track that one down and obviously put it up in the chat for next week.
So was it like pieces of debris or?
The only thing that comes across to me on that is that there were a lot of stiff upper lip. The show must go on. Bands still playing while ship were going down and things like that. And that's on every single account of Titanic. So there must be a bit of truth in that one.
In fact, I will need to drop Robbie a message because he fucking loves anything to do with the Titanic.
Totally.
I read quite a few years ago. I read a private investigator's investigation into the Titanic, and he discovered a lot of things that were pointing at the fact the Titanic is not the Titanic.
Yeah.
Keep it to next week. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Everywhere there's the exhibit for the Titanic, there's activity.
No, it was the Olympia, not the Britannic.
See if we were all put in a class on the Titanic, I honestly think Ian would have been the one that's pickpocketed somebody for the ticket.
Not a chance.
A lot of people were actually doing that.
If somebody told me, "Oh, it's never going to sink," I would turn around and say, "Yeah, you're just tempting fate, mate. I'll wait."
Yeah, I'm just going to go over there. I'll wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Who in the God's earth would tell anybody that a fucking boat doesn't sink? See, unless you built it to top class standards, don't.
Yeah. White Star Shipping Line, that's who that would tell people that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Actually, I should bring this up too, and this actually does coincide a similar kind of. Oh wait, hang on. Just before I do tell you, Lawrence got to go. Have to go and watch the rest.
Bye, Lauren. Bye,
Lawrence,
Mom.
if you guys have, well, I know Brian Ian. This is your. I mean, Lois. No, we saw her on the crime show yesterday. We were talking about this. She was watching Supernatural Talk last night. She has become a loyal follower. for Things Network. And I also did tell her about the Simply Spooky Network as well as some of the other networks we're connected with, so she could follow them. She is
Lauren.
So
Just you forget about Things Network and the Supernatural. You just stick to a Friday and a Thursday with Simply Spooky.
No, she's awesome though. I cannot thank Lauren enough.
Where's Kelly? I haven't seen Kelly for a while. In fact, the two Kellys I haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen her. Yeah. Lauren's fantastic.
With me and Ian, so she's not in dungeon.
Yeah.
Assholes.
Nick still escaped from his birthday. He hasn't returned yet.
What I was going to say was, talking about briefly a little bit about the Titanic, I'm actually gonna hold up with this info until next week. But believe it or not, here in Chicago, we actually did have a similar, not necessarily, but almost a very similar shipping disaster or shipwreck that occurred literally a few years after the Titanic, and that was the Eastland disaster that occurred back in 1915, and it was a similar case where they thought the ship for that one was not going to sink. Indeed, it didn't sink, but it went. It had a very devastating disaster too. But I'd rather save the details for it, for next week. But
well, I'll tell you what. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and Mr. English, if you include him as a lady. Have you got any dear parting words? I know Mr. English's parting word to me is always this.
Yeah.
Nice, Sarah.
What about you, Nick? Right, Sarah Louise. Bri, you got any last words?
It's been very interesting, hasn't it? To be ignored as usual.
Oh, you lying shite. Why do you think I put?
Eric loves me.
Why do you think that I put you up there?
Because I'm alive.
Right, guys, we'll catch you next week for the Titanic. You all have a good weekend, and thank you so much for joining in, guys. Thank you.
Yep, you guys have a great night.
Bye.